All right, it is the second day of my baking week, but the first day of my actual baking. I am going to make 8 different macaron shell recipes today. So even though that's a lot of macaron shells, it's really not a stressful or hard day because it's just the same routine over and over and over again. So I'm going to get into the bake right away, start off with at least one batch of shells, pop out of my apartment, go get a little coffee, just close by. I'm not going to go far. And then I'm going to get back into my baking, a couple more shells, take a little lunch break, finish up the shells in the afternoon, deep clean, prep for tomorrow. And then tomorrow I'm going to do shells and some more other filming. Because of the ebook that I'm filming this week, I'm only filming content for the shells for my vertical social media, just to share as like a fun little extra. Those videos aren't going into the ebook. I'm focusing completely on buttercream. So it's a little bit easier for me today too, because I'm just taking a few photos and vertical videos. Now let's jump right in. As you could probably guess, I like to start my days off organized, and that means getting everything I prepped the day before set up and ready to grab. The only thing I had in my refrigerator today were the egg whites for all of these batches of macaron shells, and then once my kitchen is completely ready to go, that's when I like to pop out for a tiny walk or a little coffee, something so that when I come back home, I feel refreshed and ready to dive right into my baking and filming. On filming days, I generally won't go very far for a morning walk or a morning coffee, but I do like to get out of the house since I work at home, and I like to break up my days a little bit by getting out in the morning, midday if possible, and especially in the evening, just as a little signal that like I've started or I've ended. Once I get home, I am going to get right into all of my macaron shells, and I love macaron shell days because I can just do the same actions over and over. It's very predictable. It's really easy to do. And so I just pop in my earbuds and I'll listen to a show. Usually it's something I've seen a million times before on Netflix or something, or listen to a bunch of podcasts, and I can pay more attention to that than on my other more intricate filming and baking days. For this, I am mostly filming vertically, just a little bit horizontally, just so I have some random content just in case for things like this or future videos. And as I am filming the vertical content, I'm also taking photos in case I want to add any of that into the ebook that I'm working on. And just from experience, I know that it's really nice to have a bunch of angles and different clips of things and photos of things. So once again, as I'm going through all of these recipes, even though I'm prioritizing my vertical content for these macaron shells, I am doing a bit of everything. It is definitely far easier to just do one form of content, either vertical or horizontal, or take photos, than it is to try to do all three. So these days to me especially were quite easy versus the days when I'm filming for like my magazine and member recipes. On days like these, when I film a ton of macaron shells, I like to make separate batches so that I can film the entire thing start to finish, and I'm not jumping in once I've split a batch of batter. But if I weren't filming this or taking pictures or anything like that, I'd make larger batches of meringue and of the batter and then not go through this so many times, and then I would just either split the batter into different colors or top the macaron shells with different things, or add a little bit more colorant to half of the batter, something like that. So if you are not filming for content, I wouldn't recommend making like 7 or 9 batches of macaron shells. Make 4 or fewer even, and then split the batch if you're making a bunch of different flavors. For days like these, when I'm making macaron shells, I'm always trying to overlap
the batches that I'm making, so that I'm starting one batch, and then when I get to the point where I start to pipe that, I already have a new batch of meringue whipping up just to the side. And if I get into a little bit of a backup with my oven, or I have a little bit of extra time, even with the things that are overlapped, that's when I'll do things like cleaning my kitchen, taking my lunch break, doing prep for another recipe later in the day or a recipe the following day, working on meal prep, depending on if things are in my mixer or in my oven. I need to be home based, but if they're not and I'm still waiting on something, another time I might go for a little walk or run an errand or something. So I really try to be as organized as possible with everything ready to go. And in every spare moment, I'm using that time to work on another task, prep for the future, get something ready, or take a little break.
Okay, I'm just over halfway through all my macarons on day one. I'm 5 batches in. I have a little backup in my oven because my oven sucks, and so I can only bake one tray at a time. And so I need to pause a little bit on making my next batch of the last 3 batches. So I'm going to take my lunch break now, do a little cleaning. I have 1 load of dishes in the dishwasher. I have a few other things to tidy up. And then after the lunch break, we'll finish all the macaron shells, do 1 more round of cleaning, prep for tomorrow, and then I'm going to take the night off.
So for my lunch break, I'm eating the elote inspired pasta that I made the day before. I love setting myself up like this on baking days so that when it is time for lunch, it can be really fast. I just grab what I need from a container and I'm good to go. I don't have to go anywhere, do any cooking, any of that. And I'm also not scrounging around for food. After lunch, I'm going back to my baking again, doing that overlapping of things. I've got meringue working while I'm piping a different batch, while I have another batch still in the oven. And as I get closer to the end, I will have fewer and fewer things that I can overlap with my macaron shells. The amount of macaron shells that I will make on a macaron shell day depends not only on what I'm filming and the ebook or magazine or member recipe I'm working on, but also the daylight and the lighting situation and then my other plans and all of that. So a lot of factors go into whether I'm making 4 shells or 8 shells or whatever in one day. Once again, I'm always using every little moment to clean things. I use my dishwasher and I wash by hand. I have a pretty good system down. That's definitely something I recommend doing. If you are newer to baking, especially professionally, cleaning is so key, and then always thinking ahead. So in this moment, I had some time to spare before piping another tray of shells. So instead of just hanging out, I cleaned, I prepped my breakfast oats for the next day, and then I'm also going to start working on another recipe to use as meal prep for the week. These are pizza bowls, which I love, though they do need to be baked, and I'm going to wait until all of my macaron shells are done because I need to change the temperature on my oven for those. As I start getting to the end of my day, unless I want to photograph my entire half speed rack with all of the trays of macaron shells or take a picture for Instagram or something like that, I am going to start packaging these up into airtight storage containers. And these are things that I'll get into either my freezer if it'll be a couple of days or just at room temperature if I plan to use the shells within the next day. Once all of the shells are finished, they will all go into those boxes. I'm finishing my meal prep, and then it's basically time to clean.
All right, all of my mac shells are done for the day. I showered while my last batch was in the oven. My new meal prep is done. Third round of dishes is in the dishwasher. I just need to put away all of the shells, clean up everything, my floor counters, all of that. I do need to run to the grocery store one more time to get a few last minute things and then do a little bit of prep for tomorrow. But otherwise, I'm taking the rest of the evening off. I'm going to go watch White Lotus with my family. And yeah, we'll do all of this again tomorrow.
All right, you don't really need to see my shopping and my night off, so I'll end things here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little peek into day 2 in my baking week in my kitchen while filming my buttercream adaptations ebook. I cannot wait to see you again for day 3.